Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here. I'm Dr. Chaconas. I'm one of the neurologists here at Memory Movement Charlotte. And William, who has been with us for about 2 months, I've known him for 10 years. He's our neurology physician assistant. We work very closely together. And he and I thought about this program because so many of you bring supplements to your visits, and you're asking our opinion about the supplements. And we got to thinking about it, and I wonder if maybe I had been a little too dismissive about supplements in the past. If you can imagine, if you come to a doctor with 4 or 5 different supplements and you ask, should I take this? A doctor who's ignorant about supplements might say, oh, hogwash, don't take them, save your money. I've heard that from my doctor because I recently had a checkup and I asked his opinion in advance of giving this discussion with you all. So we wanted to let you all know that on visits in the future, we always would welcome questions about supplements. And if we don't know the answer to them, we can find out. So generally speaking, like Melanie alluded to, we're essentially bombarded by ads, whether it's on television or in print or on radio, about dietary supplements. We wanted to limit our discussion about brain dietary supplements, but you've seen many for the heart, for the joints, for sleep, for calming effect, and so forth. But of course, because we're Memory Movement Charlie, we wanted to talk more about the available brain supplements. The promises, or at least the claims that you hear in the ads, tend to be around improving one's memory, mental acuity, concentration, mental power, productivity. So they're really not targeting a particular demographic of the population. They want everyone, young, old, retired, working students, to consider these supplements. Students take them when they're studying for exams and they want to achieve more, like brain power. Shift workers might take them when they're sleep deprived. Executives who are overworked might take them. People who are aging and normally have some cognitive decline might consider taking these supplements to achieve some kind of mental boost. And even individuals who have cognitive disorders like dementia have shown interest in taking these. Generally, these are considered safe, or at least, benign, in the sense that they're natural things like vitamins, minerals, botanicals, things that come from the mushroom family. And generally, one would say, well, gosh, it sounds pure and likely to be safe. And if I don't mind spending on average $50 to $200 a month on a brain supplement, maybe it's worth the investment if I get the results I want. So, in the future, if you're considering a supplement and you want to wait till a visit or message us, we'd be very happy to talk to you about it. But our intent today is to give you the lay of the land, the industry, the profitability, the choices, the claims, the regulation, a lot of oversight or a lot of insight about, really what is happening in this market. And is it important for us to consider taking supplements, avoiding them, or withholding judgment until we learn more about them? So I thought we'd dig right in so William and I are going to try to wrap this up within 30 minutes or so we can entertain questions, and we'll interview each other a little bit. So William, why don't you tell everyone, what is the formal definition of a dietary supplement?
So yes, the definition of a dietary supplement as it pertains to our topic of brain supplements is something that you add to something, hopefully to either improve or replace a deficiency. So, as you know, our brain does require many vitamins to function properly. The neural tracts need certain vitamins and minerals to function properly. So we look more at vitamin B12 and thiamine and folate and vitamin D, and then like hormone tests like TSH, look at function of that. But in general, what we're basically going to be talking about is just how the supplements that we'll talk about and have been talked about on TV and commercials and everything for so long. Are they an actual supplement in the terms of the definition that I just gave you?
So what I struggled with is we hear dietary supplement, and how does that differ from a drug, a pharmaceutical agent? And there is a distinct difference even in the language. Like if you pick up a dietary supplement, it talks about a serving. So, a dietary supplement, as you were alluding to, is like a natural thing that our body needs, even if we're not deficient in it. The sense is you're getting these things in your diet. So it's not the actual food, but it's something within food. And the question is, should we take more of it even if we don't lack it?
Yeah.
And will that help us more? Is there any risk to taking more than we need?
Mhm.
And then the other issue is, if it's not a drug, what exactly is it doing? I mean, is this getting into our body to serve some function in the brain that we need? So we'll talk a little bit more about that distinction between a dietary supplement and a pharmaceutical, like a prescription, and then how they differ, how they're regulated, how they're studied, and so forth.
Yeah.
But how about the market size? Because we're bombarded with all these ads. Somebody must be making money off of this.
Yes,
So
they are. So I was looking at the supplement market in general as a global market, how much money is invested into supplements, and I found that it's about $183 billion each year that's invested from private citizens into those supplements. And then in the United States, it's about 53 billion dollars a year that's invested in supplements. And that is a look at supplements in general, like Dr. Chaconas was talking about, the heart, joints, muscle, that kind of thing. Didn't look up specifically how much money was spent on brain supplements. I'm not sure if they kind of divvied them out or not, but it's a large market. There's a lot of money at stake in this market. So we'll get into as we go on just how they actually find ways to entice us to purchase supplements, but we'll get into that. Yeah.
And I would say in advance, we wanted to be careful that we aren't, you're not perceiving us as naysayers, like off the bat, because what we found in our research is there are some tantalizing chemicals and molecules that hold promise. But as of now, those are being marketed in a sense that, hey, it's a theory, it might not hurt you, maybe it'll help. And as scientists, we are really wedded to finding scientific proof that supports safety and efficacy. And we'll give you some specific examples of the supplements, but when we started looking into this, I got to the number 40, the 40th brain supplement, and it was driving me crazy trying to understand every one of those, what's in them, how much, what are the theories. So we kind of condensed it down to some examples, like common ones you've heard, like Prevagen, for example. So we'll talk a lot about that.
Yeah. So Dr. Chaconas, is the supplement market regulated to keep citizens safe and scientifically proven supplements to go to market? So is there a way that they verify that they're safe and worthwhile, I guess, to go to market?
Now, I used to think that supplements were highly regulated because they're being sold to us to ingest. So we're like, there's some trust there that we're going to buy something that, is it pure? Is it unadulterated? Are there any toxins in it? Who's monitoring safety, like side effects? Who's monitoring the claims of efficacy? So the FDA, the Federal Drug Administration, and the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, both are the two governmental bodies entrusted in oversight for supplements. So on the FDA side, it's like perceiving a supplement as potentially a drug or intended to treat some type of symptom. The FTC is more of like a truth in advertising. They're monitoring to make sure you're not being sold a bill of goods, so that what they're saying, the language is correct and specific and not deceptive. However, pre-marketing, so let's say William and I decided to package memory and movement Charlotte brain supplements, and it's $300 a month. But if you buy 3 months, we'll discount it to $200 a month. So we could manufacture, create the labeling and the bottles and all the advertising and launch that supplement relatively unimpeded and with relatively little oversight on what we're doing pre-marketing. Once it's out there, then it's fair game that we can be scrutinized by the FDA or the FTC or any consumer who has a bad reaction to it and wants to report that either through the website to the FDA or a phone call or by mail. So we are free to market and to profit, and the FDA and the FTC are busy. I mean, there are a lot of supplements out there, so they're not necessarily proactively watching commercials, reviewing all this. They do to a degree, and they're certainly free to do so. But we, as the supplement manufacturer, have to adhere to some legislative or some legal requirements that ensure at least some trust that it's a safe product. So there's an act called the FD&C Act. It's the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. I think it came out in the 90s, that says we have to label our product accurately. So all the ingredients are listed, even binders, fillers, the capsule materials, not just the so-called active ingredient. We have to say what the serving size is and how much of those ingredients are in the serving size. And then we have to make our best effort that it's safe. And then we're also supposed to use language that is accurate based on what we know about the effectiveness of these agents. So what happens if the FDA needs to get involved? They may look at compliance, like, did we label it properly? Are we saying the wrong things? And we're claiming it's almost like a drug, because drugs are intended to treat illnesses or symptoms from illnesses. Dietary supplements are like a food source in a sense, not like a drug with that intent. So if the FDA says, we're wondering, we got some complaints, they may work with us as the manufacturer. And if we're if we're going off the rails as far as something legal, they try to help us back, or they may ask us for a voluntary withdrawal of our supplement if there is bigger concerns, or they may demand it. But it could be years before that ever happens, and we might be profiting and it might not work at all. And it could cause side effects or interaction with other drugs. So post-marketing, we're vulnerable. Pre-marketing, we're not.
Yeah.
So we have to be very careful with supplements.
Dr. Chaconas, I think you've answered a lot of the next question, but there's some specific to. So the next question is, are supplement manufacturers required to scientifically prove safety and efficacy as are pharmaceuticals? Yeah, it's pharmaceutical companies that are bringing prescription drugs to the market for specific illnesses or symptom relief.
Technically not. I mean, since the FDA is not mandated to, we don't apply to the FDA and say our supplement does this and it's safe. Will you review it and give us permission? They don't do that, which is a little bit surprising, I think, to a lot of people. So we don't have an incentive to invest in the proof or the study of the drug as an absolute. Now, some manufacturers do make an attempt. So I should digress a minute and say that if we were a pharmaceutical company like Pfizer and we have a drug of interest, we have to apply to the FDA for a new drug for at least to begin the study of this drug because it's highly regulated to study drugs in humans. There's a Helsinki agreement on experimentation in human beings. You can imagine that sort of came out of like experimentation in Nazi Germany and how we have to guard against abuses. So that's a highly regulated industry for safety reasons and for proof of efficacy. So how would we do it as a pharmaceutical company? We go through different phases of drug testing. Generally, it's phase 1, 2, and 3. There's sub phases. So phase 3 is the big study. Everything leading up to it is this possibly going to work? And then we test it on more and more patients. We get up to phase 3. That's the big phase that we wanted to show effectiveness and safety to go in front of the FDA. The FDA, they're not experts in everything, so they have a big body of consultants like neurologists to go over a drug for the brain. And they'll review everything. They'll say, this is legitimate. Okay, this is good. We approve it, go forth and market. Or they'll say no. Or they'll say no and say you have to go back and do some more studies. Not in the dietary supplement world. There's no requirement for that. Now it's done, excuse me, it's done to a degree, but not to the level of the pharmaceutical companies, because on average, it's millions and millions of dollars to study a drug the proper way, and it takes many, many years, and it could flop. So we don't have the investors, we don't have the millions, we don't want to take the risk. We like this drug. I think we could market it. We could probably make a lot of money. Let's see where this goes. So now you can see this is a little bit of the Wild Wild West situation with supplements. Now, am I asking you a question?
I think you are.
Hold up your hand. I'm talking too long. Okay. Oh, here, this is good. So
Yes.
I wanted to ask you this one. Considering the brain supplement ads we have all seen, what have been the various claims made in regard to brain health and symptom relief? And what type of wording or language is used to avoid sanctions from the FDA and FTC? Is there a required disclaimer that must be included on the product label and in advertising? So what do you see with these
Yeah.
supplements?
So I'll start with the last part of that question first. So in 1994, the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act of 1994 came up with a labeling statement that should be on each supplement product. And so what it should say is should state that the product has not been evaluated by the FDA and is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. And now going on to the other part of the question, there are a lot of different ways that they can approach marketing supplements. So I was doing some research on this because this was so before I go any further, we learn, as Dr. Chaconas is saying, as much from the patients and the family as they do from us. So them asking us questions, patients and caregivers sending us, I'll sometimes receive portal messages asking me about certain things. So doing this research has helped me learn as well as kind of giving you the information back as well. But some of the language or ways that they market this is they'll use vague language, which supports, they'll say it supports or boosts focus, promotes cognitive functioning, helps memory. And then there's scientifically tinged ways where they can use scientific jargon, false claims. They can also use claims to suggest cognitive enhancement, So what they do is have like a celebrity endorsement, or use proxies. So instead of saying the product prevents a disease, they can say cure brain fog or absent-mindedness. So you can see the kind of vague, kind of tricky language that can be used to make you think that this is a scientifically proven supplement when it's not. Um, other types of language that are used to target, so they'll target vulnerable consumers. And that's where we get into where they
She's very
elderly.
kind in many ways. He's very good in many ways. I think she's very understood.
Also, they can highlight pain points. So to create a sense of urgency and focusing on poor concentration, low energy, and absent-mindedness, so they can make you feel like, wow, this product is going to make my fogginess and my maybe hard time remembering things a lot better. I need to go buy this product and to give it and try it. Um, they'll use testimonials, sharing personal stories, so satisfied customers, to provide sense of community and sense of proof. Um, and those are the main type of marketing languages that they use, or tactics, or wording to um, get us to become interested in their product.
It just, is there a requirement that those satisfied customers be actual customers, or could they be actors?
They could be anybody.
Yeah, they can
Yes,
be,
they could be anybody.
they're usually compensated.
Yeah.
It's hard for us to verify these are actual consumers of these that paid the celebrity or professional endorsements, like Dr. Ben Carson, he has,
Yeah.
They're compensated, and it'll say that on the ad. This,
Tiny letters.
yeah, it'll say this is a paid endorsement by this physician. There have been actors, we all can tell, but some of the products you'll see when we talk about, like Prevagen, you'll see how this actually works. But in addition to what you're saying, the language you hear are things like clinically tested.
Mhm.
They don't say clinically proven. So if you clinically test something, well, what were the results? Did it prove that it does help or not? So they're effectively not telling you something that's untrue. And we want to believe what's being said, so we'll interpret it as, oh, it's clinically tested, therefore it's safe and effective.
Yeah.
You know, or supports brain health.
Yeah.
You know, well, okay, I guess, I mean, you know, if it's
Well-
got vitamins in it that we need anyway.
Mhm.
And you'll see that a lot of supplements are not a single agent. There are additives to it that include a list of vitamins. Vitamin D is commonly added, the B vitamins are commonly added. So it's definitely an industry that's marketing to us.
Yeah.
And they're, you know, to their credit, of course, they have to abide by legal standards. They can't make false claims, but they can suggest it might help. They can't say this will treat Alzheimer's disease. And they really avoid actually saying illnesses in the ad, because drugs are for treating illnesses, dietary supplements are not. Okay.
So Dr. Chaconas, where scientific proof is scant or non-existent for a particular brain supplement, are there at least valid theories of potential benefit that, if explored and studied, might prove to be true?
Yeah, this is what I alluded to before. We don't want to be naysayers, and we've stumbled upon some supplements that have very intriguing ingredients that have a little bit of science behind it. I'll give you an example. There's a supplement called Neuriva, Neuriva. I'm not endorsing this because there still isn't enough data, but it has in it, amongst other things, a protein called phosphatidylserine, which is in the membranes of our nerves in our brain. It has a very important role in brain function. And there are some small studies, not enough to be valid, some small studies that suggest it's worth checking into this more. But if you don't own the molecule or the supplement where you can get the rights to it and then invest the money, and if it shows it works, you'll reap the benefits by marketing to people when you do the scientific method. It's hard to justify studying it unless you get a private grant or a taxpayer funded grant and you're at a university and you engage in studying the benefits of cinnamon, but nobody owns cinnamon. There might be a way to modify cinnamon, add a different molecule to it and say, this is our cinnamon, and we studied it, so take ours, not off the shelf. But really, it's even those intriguing molecules that I think the whole promise, there's still not enough data, even on the safety side, to justify or to endorse them. Still have to be careful. Is it me asking you a question?
Yes.
Sorry. It's the end of the day.
This,
Okay, this is important. You know, with artificial intelligence, we can ask AI, on your cell phone or on the computer, their opinion about its opinion about something. As far as I know, it's not thinking on its own, but it's doing fast research for us. So it's looking at all the internet data and giving us an answer. What you found something, what did you find when you were asking AI's opinion about supplements? What
Yeah.
happens?
so I found almost like, any Google search, it depends on how you ask the question. So if you ask, what benefits come from brain supplements, it'll give you, a whole list of information, and it may even provide some like nature type studies that were done to support their claim. Where if you say, what are the controversies surrounding this supplement, it'll give you a whole list of other answers in terms of the controversies and why may not be good, or it's not fully tested and that kind of thing. So AI is basically, it's a great tool. We've used it with our dictation app. It works great. But AI is basically searching the web based on your question for the information. So look at all the information on that specific topic and try to gather that together and put together a summary of that. So it really depends on how you ask it, because if you ask it one way, it'll gather that information for you, but if you ask it another way, it's going to gather it in a different way. So it's important just to know what you're asking. And a lot of people will just go in there and say, what benefits does this supplement provide, rather than say, what are the controversies or what are the side effects or risks and that kind of thing. So it's always good when you're doing any kind of research on Google or whatever platform you use, to kind of be critical about how you're asking it and what you're asking.
When it looks for that information, AI?
Yeah.
Is it discerning what's an advertisement and what's a fact? I mean,
No.
is some of what it's pulling the advertisement for the product?
Yes, it reads very much like the advertisements.
Yeah,
So, and it's
Yeah.
very convincing.
It is.
because that's what's out there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it
Yeah.
assembles the data in a very succinct way with examples and tells you why it works and how. So you read that and it looks like the gospel. But if you look at the ads, it's taking the ads and giving you the ads.
Yeah.
But as
Yeah.
soon as you said, well, wait a minute, are there any controversies
Yeah.
in brain supplements? And it's got
Yeah.
lawsuits and all this other stuff pops
Yeah.
up. So you just have to explore this more.
Yes. And that's good. The next question we kind of take on together.
Oh, this is good. Okay, now we can give you some.
We're getting some good questions in the chat too.
Yeah, and you know what? We should probably hurry it up so we can get their questions.
Yes.
So William and I both explored some specific brain supplements, and you want me to just start?
Yeah, you got,
Okay.
no, I'll finish up.
So Prevagen has interested me for years. It's that jellyfish thing. If you remember the first commercial back in, I think it's 2014, they have that jellyfish. It's a jellyfish that uses a protein called apoecorvin. Oh boy, let me look it up. I cannot pronounce this very well. Apoequorin, APOAEQUORIN. It's a chemical that binds calcium and releases blue light. So this jellyfish is phosphorescent in the ocean. It's very pretty. It gives off blue light energy. So I don't know where Quincy Biosciences, the company that marketed Prevagen, how they developed an interest in this as a brain supplement. But to their credit, they did a scientific study. It was small. It was like a proof of concept. They took 218 people who self-reported they had memory problems. They divided them up and they tested them on 9 different tests for cognitive function, memory, attention, and so forth. And found that it didn't help. It didn't work. So they knew that. Then they did something that's called a post hoc analysis, meaning they looked back at the data and tried to find subgroups where it seemed to work against placebo. That's called data slicing. And in the statistical world, you will increase by chance the likelihood of finding a positive result. And everyone knows that's not kosher. You don't do that. Pharmaceutical companies, when they get approval for a drug, they'll put post hoc analysis in there to butter us up because it makes it even sound better. But they got approval based on the regular way of proving it, but they try to give it some oomph
Yeah.
by showing us all this post hoc analysis, and we're like,
Yeah.
stop it, it's not valid. So they knew this drug, this not drug, it's not a drug, this dietary supplement is not effective. So what happened? Their original ad says clinically proven to boost your memory, to improve cognitive function. And they made that claim. Well, there were some complaints that came out that prompted an investigation, and the Attorney General of New York and the FTC, the Truth in Advertising, brought a lawsuit against the company. They had a jury. The jury reviewed everything, and they found them deceptive based on the lack of data. So what happened with Prevagen? It's still there. It's probably the #1 best-selling brain supplement. And if you get the regular strength, it's anywhere from $70 to $100 a month. There's extra strength, which is much more. You can get it cheap at Costco. But this is a drug that they proved didn't work. It's still available to all of us. And the last data for its sales was out of 2015. And they made $165 million in 2015. It's a private company, so they don't report this. I don't know how. So you get the idea. It's very profitable. The pharmacist in South Park at Walgreens, I asked him about it. He says it flies off the shelf. They can't get enough. But the company proved it doesn't work. So what happened? They had to change their ad. Now they have a guy, I think his name's Hank, who says, it just works. And he says, I've been taking it for 11 years. I trust it. It just works. So you see, they changed the advertising. They're in compliance now. They're not making a false claim. But the FDA didn't tell them they have to remove it. The FDA really is careful not to overly regulate an industry that I personally think needs more regulation. That's just a little editorial for that. And then I'll make it quick here. That there's another one called Cunol Brain Health. Have you seen Cunol? That's all over the place. There's one for the heart. There's a nice cardiologist lady who talks about that for the heart. There's a neurologist lady who I've got to read her the ad, because this ad you'll see is going to be pulled. They're going to have to change this. She says, as a neurologist, my patients are often concerned with age-related memory decline. So they're saying something that we all know. I have it, I'm 67. So age-related memory decline happens. They're not saying it's an illness like dementia. And she said, I recommend Cunol Brain Health with 2 powerful high absorption ingredients clinically shown to improve memory, focus, attention, and more. Then you read the print ad, it says clinically tested.
Mhm.
So they get away with clinically tested, but she said clinically proven. So I think they're gonna have to slap their wrist on that one. Because there is no research. It's not that they proved it doesn't work like Prevagen. They didn't even research it. So, and it has really magnesium. It's a magnesium supplement. It's like you can buy magnesium supplement for $2. You get 30 capsules. And Cunol Brain Health is $50 a month or more. And then I'll finish up with one more example. Dr. Ben Carson, a neurosurgeon, he endorsed a product called NeuroBoost IQ. It has a number of botanicals, they're extracts from different plants. And one of them is called Bacopa, Bacopa. They tout this as really stimulating the brain. There were 2 studies in humans. One was with 11 people and one was with 17, which essentially is not studying it at all. And there was a trend towards maybe memory was a little better. So they're marketing it based on that. But I think you have some examples too.
Yeah, I looked up, so I received, some portal, questions from our patients about lithium. So lithium and exogenous ketones, so that's all I'll discuss here, briefly. So, the lithium supplements, what I found about when I researched lithium and as to whether it actually benefits anybody with Alzheimer's or patients with all types of dementia. All I could find was there was one study that was done, and it was done on mice. So what they did is they depleted the mice of lithium, and the mice or mouse, they developed amyloid plaques and tau proteins, so Alzheimer's type um uh pathophysiology. So after that happened, the patients developed some memory issues. The mice developed memory issues. I'm not really sure how they measured that. But then they went ahead and they gave the mice back lithium through water, and they found that their memory or their functioning improved. So that was the only study that was done. And then I looked to see if there's any human studies or trials done. And there are a couple that are on trial.gov. And when you look at, so they haven't started them yet. When you look at what they're planning on doing, is they say we're gonna look and see if lithium actually improves Alzheimer's. But then when they get to the bottom of what the inclusion and exclusion factors are, so the exclusionary factors were patients who are diagnosed with mild cognitive impairment, mild dementia, or Alzheimer's. So they're excluding population with the actual disease, and they're going to study those without it. So I'm not really sure how that's going to turn out, but I don't think there'll be any better or good proof that lithium actually works. And then as far as exogenous ketones, so exogenous ketones, there were no studies. There were a few meta-analyses where they looked at large groups of studies, and all that they could really find was there's no proof that it actually helps patients with Alzheimer's. What they found out is when the brain stops metabolizing glucose, which is what happens during Alzheimer's, and amyloid plaques develop and tau proteins develop. The ketones are, if you use exogenous ketones, like some folks will inject that into their muscle, or they'll take pills. This comes in many different forms. That is a secondary source of energy for the brain, because the brain loves glucose, but if it's not able to obtain glucose or metabolize it because it's damaged, then it'll use ketones. But the ketones are taking away the amyloid plaques and tau proteins that are causing the disease.
So
Right,
Mhm.
that's good, right?
No, because the ketones in brain health, if you look at, does it actually help patients with Alzheimer's? and it's only a secondary energy source, but it's not taking away the,
Oh,
the things that are causing
I think so, it
openings.
was, okay.
Yeah, they're not. So it's not taking away or repairing the neuronal tissue and taking away amyloid plaque and tau proteins.
I
It's giving
misheard.
it a secondary energy source.
But with lithium, because I know this is hot, late breaking news,
Yeah.
it's all over the news. We've gotten a lot of questions about lithium. Lithium is available in our diet. You can get lithium supplements on Amazon, like 5 milligrams. It's a prescription drug at much higher doses for treating psychiatric conditions like bipolar disorder. Um, But when animal studies like the mice study you referenced
Yeah.
show the possibility that lithium plays a role in animal models of Alzheimer's disease, more often than not, it doesn't translate to humans.
Mhm.
It's intriguing. There's a lot of animal studies that get our attention. Then you move on to human investigations. But many times the mouse is so different from us, it doesn't translate.
Yeah.
And then there's exogenous ketones. I trained in medicine. I know you know this, you did too. If a person has diabetes and their blood sugar is going up, they haven't been on insulin, they can't get blood sugar into their cells. So now you've got a problem. How does the body burn fuel if it can't burn glucose or sugar? So as you said, it's an alternative fuel source, ketones. Ketones are made by metabolizing fat, and then the brain can use the ketones to work and live, and it'll survive on that. But that's also a bad situation because it's very temporary. It's like a fail-safe. But your blood acidity goes through the roof when the ketones go up, and you can go into coma and die. It's called diabetic ketoacidosis, acidic blood from too many the ketones. If you starve yourself, your ketones will go up too. It's a starvation reaction. You don't have carbohydrates, you have to burn fat to make the ketones, and your brain can use that. So ketones can be good or bad, but the notion that you should go out and get ketones and take them and somehow it's going to make your brain better doesn't make much clinical sense. Now, there's plenty of people say if I go on a ketogenic diet, a starvation diet, or if I do intermittent fasting, I feel better, I feel sharper. And I hear that a lot. And I've actually felt that when I'm preparing for a colonoscopy. You're not supposed to eat it. I'm like, I feel pretty good. I'm
Yeah,
like
right.
thinking clear. And maybe because if I eat too much, I get sleepy or something. But again, there's no research in that either. But so let's finish up real quick so we can get questions with toxicity.
Yeah, I think our discussion so far, I was looking at the remainder of the questions, and it seems like we've touched on some of the other ones.
Okay,
So if you wanted to, we could go to questions.
Yeah, we
Wanna
have
do
quite a
that? Okay.
few.
let's do that.
So we'll start with the ones that are in the live chat, but I have a few that came in earlier as well. So I think we talked enough about lithium, but you mentioned magnesium as the $2 drugstore item.
Right.
Is it helpful?
Well, my experience medically with magnesium supplementation has been basically in two areas. One is if you are, well, we should bring up this issue of depletion. If you're lacking in a mineral like magnesium or a vitamin like thiamine or vitamin B12, you may be ill in some way from that. It depends on how severe it is and how prolonged it is. You might feel some just basic symptoms like fatigue or muscle cramping, or prolonged deficiencies like in B12 will break down the brain and the spinal cord and you'll get really in trouble. But that's usually prolonged starvation or you can't absorb it because of some intestinal problem. So we rarely see those critical issues in the United States. Mild deficiencies like vitamin D, you probably could tolerate that for a while, but for older folks, we got to take care of our bones. Low vitamin D, your bones are going to thin. You can get osteoporosis. There's immune problems with low vitamin D. So if there are deficiency states, we should seek to correct that,
Mhm.
just for general good health. Sometimes it's improving our diet, sometimes it's taking supplements. With magnesium, you can get a blood test to see if you're deficient in magnesium. There's no evidence that taking more magnesium is going to help you sleep better or concentrate better or remember better.
Right.
But if you're low in it, you can get headaches, you can have sleep disruption, you can be foggy, you can have muscle weakness, you can feel it if it's pretty low.
Yeah.
And of course, magnesium is an aid for constipation, like milk magnesium. So if you take magnesium supplements, you might be on the toilet more potentially. So, again, ask your doctor, should I take magnesium? And they can tell you what they know. They may want to say, to satisfy you, they may draw your blood and tell you if you're deficient in that.
The only experience that I have, other than what Dr. Chaconas already mentioned with magnesium, is people who suffer from migraines. So there was some research done on that, and they found that if people with migraines were having frequent migraines, so they took 500 or so milligrams of magnesium daily, that it does help maybe decrease the number of migraines that somebody suffers.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I had migraines,
Yeah.
and I had a neurologist, and I don't have them anymore, but that was one of the things that she prescribed for me was magnesium.
Yeah, it can help. Yeah.
This is an interesting question. Would you say that a person who takes a supplement and buys into the ads and really believes it's going to work, actually, it does work for them because they've believed it? In other words, they might not actually be any better, but they think they are.
Well, you're looking at someone like, so we challenge each other. You've heard of creatine, the powder supplement that a lot of athletes use. It's supposed to build muscle if you take it like within 30 minutes of lifting weights, or it can help with recovery, less muscle fatigue or muscle pain. Well, as I've gotten older, I feel more fatigue, muscle pain, muscle weakness. So I started taking it and I actually believe it was a miracle, but it didn't last. So it was a placebo effect for me.
Yeah.
Have you've taken?
Same.
Yeah.
I thought it was helping at first, and then I realized that it wasn't really helping as much as I thought it was going to. I still have it. I still take it because I bought a little, like probably 3 kind of canisters of it. So
Costco.
I felt, yeah, so I'm going to finish it up, but there are some clinical trials or at least data out there to the extent of which it helps maybe muscle
Yeah.
recover. So
And maybe sleep deprivation. We'll learn more about it. You'll hear
Yeah.
more about that.
Yeah.
But the placebo benefit or placebo effect is not expected to last more than 2 to 4 weeks, like a month at most, where people are like riding high on that and they're like, it seems to have worn off. That was probably more of a placebo
Yeah.
effect.
So, okay, we've gotten questions in a few places here about omega-3s. And how important is it to take things that are high in omega-3s or fish oil, especially for people who don't eat seafood?
I mean, once again, it's an important element of our diet. Certainly for arterial health. You should ask your doctor, though. There's some evidence that too much might increase bleeding risk, bleeding in the brain risk. Not to scare anybody. These are generally rare things when taken as labeled on the supplement, like a serving size, because at least you can generally trust that supplements are not mega doses that we could get in trouble with as long as you stick to the serving size.
Can you get in trouble at the all-you-can-eat seafood buffet?
Oh, yeah.
I will, But good arterial health is important for brain health. The old hardening of the artery cause of dementia. That's a real thing. We call it vascular dementia.
Mhm.
But once again, it's probably a good idea to talk to your doctor about taking these things.
Yeah, there's a lot of interest in the cardiology world with omega-3 and all the different fish oil and gosh, they even have prescription. I can't remember the name of it, but it's a prescription fish oil type product that's prescribed by a cardiologist. So they, the cardiology world has a lot of interest in that. But I didn't look, I should
But
look.
yeah,
that up.
and remember, if you take the supplement, you might burp up a fishy.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, here's a burping related question.
Oh,
Would you comment on using antacids and the effect they have on medications?
that's an excellent question.
Yeah.
Well, we know that the acidity in your stomach serves the purpose. It's a pH of 2. It's like hydrochloric acid. That's why you can erode your esophagus if you have GERD, that reflux. It's chewing things up because it's highly acidic. If the lining of your stomach is healthy, it protects your stomach, your esophagus from erosion from that acid. That acid is required to absorb some nutrients, including vitamin B12. If you take a lot of antacids and neutralize that acid in your stomach significantly and for a prolonged period of time, you're going to absorb less vitamin B12.
Mhm.
So people who are on chronic antacids, some are on high dose, some are on 3 prescription antacids. They have to be very careful. They might have to get injections of vitamin B12, but that acidity is required for the breakdown of some pharmaceuticals and the absorption of them. And that data is available. So if you are on an antacid, your primary care doctor can do a review of the medicines and say if you should take the medication like first thing in the morning before you get up and wait 2 hours before you take the antacid or something. You might have to separate certain drugs from antacid administration. That's a very important question.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got a few. We've got a few specific ones. So shall I just run through the quick names here?
Yeah.
A question about lion's mane, a question about IQ blast. Supplements for detox, especially for heavy metals. Is that lithium? I don't know what that means.
Yeah,
Um,
well, we can talk about that.
And okay, that we'll knock out all 3 of those in one.
Well, we brought up lion's mane together. While I've never used it, and it's certainly available as it's a fungus. It's what are called macrofungi, or fungi you can see, like mushroom. Lion's mane is this big, flowing, whitish yellow fungus that you'll find in the woods if you walk around, look under rotting logs. So it's beautiful, and it has a long history of being edible, safely edible, and it's intriguing. Maybe it helps things. So it's widely tried.
Mhm.
Again, no data on it. It's not studied, but there are plenty of experts on lion's mane and fungi on the internet who speak with such authority and talk about how it works for this, this, and this, and they're very believable. But when you ask them about actual science, they don't really know.
No.
Do you have an opinion? Because you have some, don't you? Does it taste
My
good?
wife does.
Can you put it in a salad?
Yeah. So my wife, she has lion mane capsules, and I was talking to her one day about, us discussing supplements and about, we were talking about lion's mane and really about all the supplements and how, now again, not diminishing that there might be some that are actually, worthwhile, but there's still no data on lion's mane. So I told my wife, and the bottle's still sitting on her counter. I'm not sure if she's still taking it now, so I don't know if I talked her out of it or not.
Spoiled her
Spoiled her lion's mane.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
And
yeah,
then
no,
was
no data.
And then
IQ blast.
IQ Blast. I've not heard of that. It sounds like the Ben Carson one, which is Neuro Boost IQ, but maybe it's not. And again, we could, if the person who asked that wants our input on that, we can look it up and look at the ingredients. We
That
are,
was your question. Turn your mic on and we'll clarify.
Yeah.
I mean, we like to look into it. I think what you'll find, like even Prevagen has vitamin D. Well, I should say this. Prevagen, we know, sadly, well, we at least know it doesn't work by the study the company did. Maybe a bigger study would show it works. But, they buried the study that they had. They put vitamin D in Prevagen. It's the equivalent of 2,000 international units. which is what we advise people take to maintain vitamin D when they're deficient and after it's been corrected. It's $4, it's $3.50 for a month's supply
Mhm.
on Amazon. And if you buy Prevagen, you're buying a very expensive form of vitamin D, essentially. But that particular supplement I'm not familiar with, so I probably shouldn't try to comment on that.
Okay.
one.
Was the question about supplements for detox, was that with you? Is that
For
something?
that heavy metal question? Is that what, heavy metals are like mercury, arsenic, things you don't want to accumulate in your body. It really accumulates in the nervous system. The only way to get that out is through a therapy called chelation. There really isn't any supplement that I know of that you could rely on to detoxify you of, like if you eat a lot of tuna fish and it's got mercury in it. Or if you do a lot of target shooting, you get lead levels
Yeah.
and your blood goes up. You gotta be careful. Indoor ranges, some
Right.
people need to get checked. But if you're worried about heavy metal toxicity, you can get that measured in the blood. Fingernail clippings, hair clippings, you can measure this and see if you need to get treatment. So it would be that you're in a high exposure area, like if you use mercury because you make hats, like Matt as a hatter. That
Mhm.
expression comes from hat makers who get mercury toxicity. Or if you shoot a lot and you're feeling strained, you can get these things checked.
Not a self-treatment
No,
situation.
no, it
Okay.
wouldn't.
All right, we have two more questions. We have three questions. We'll close on a good one there, but we have two that are connected, sort of. And if anyone has any other questions, please put them in the chat or speak up, turn your mic on and talk over me and we'll get you in here. Okay, these two seem related to me. Please address supplements for those who have dementia versus those who don't have it yet, but are at a higher risk, like a child of someone with dementia. Generally, is it too late for someone with the diagnosis already? So we're really talking about those who are more at risk. And that seems related to me to this question, signs of memory loss, and are there proven medical methods to improve or regain lost memory?
Yeah. I know I'm talking a lot, so
That's
maybe, okay.
That's okay, I can.
I appreciate it. I'm not allowed to talk at home. Sorry, don't tell my wife.
Still watching.
So when I think about the treatment of dementia, the holy grail is that all of us could take something or get some treatment that prevents us from ever getting it in the first place. If we get it, the next best thing would be that we could reverse it. The next best thing after that is that we could arrest it, stop it so it doesn't get any worse. The next best thing after that is that we could slow it down, but it's going to progress. Right now with Alzheimer's disease, we have two drugs that can modestly slow down the progression of it. Those drugs are not known to offer anything more. For example, if I'm destined to get Alzheimer's disease and maybe right now I'm accumulating the plaque in my brain that you have to have Alzheimer's. If I took those drugs and got all that plaque out, we don't know yet if that's what I should do to either delay getting Alzheimer's or preventing getting it in the first place. I think there are two studies that are investigating that in people who seem to be at high risk. Maybe it's all throughout the family, for example. Although I have to say that if my mother and father had Alzheimer's, it doesn't have to be my destiny. So I know we all worry about that. Is that going to be my fate? So right now, there isn't any supplement that we know of that will reduce the chance of getting Alzheimer's, delay it, or offer any substantial treatment when you get it.
They were talking about how to slow it down.
Is someone trying to ask a question? I hear somebody.
In everyday America that are not.
Okay, just if you're just tuning in, just a reminder that this is recording, so you can play it back after. All right. Any other questions? Turn your mic on if you have one.
Do you have one, Chris?
Dr. Chaconas, were you going to talk about how to find a good, reliable brand of, like a vitamin D or what to look for?
Oh, yeah, you brought this up. Thanks, Chris. Forgive me for talking about myself, but my vitamin D level, you know how we make vitamin D by getting out in the sunshine? in spite of doing that, as I got older, I don't synthesize vitamin D, so it was very low. And I was taking, what brand was I taking? I don't want, it's probably best I don't even mention it. Whatever it was, it didn't work for me, but it might work for someone else. It may have been an absorption thing. So I tried a different brand. I found, again, I'm not a paid spokesperson. The one brand I tried, because it was recommended to me, is Da Vinci supplements. And it was because a doctor told me that it has a high quality, attention to quality, purity. So I took that, and sure enough, my vitamin D went up. So I absorbed that. So if you can check and measure to see if what you're taking is working, that's probably the best way. But there was a study that came out of Clinical Journal looking at multivitamins, and Centrum Silver came up as one of the more reliable ones, where each tablet has roughly the same amount of vitamins and minerals. You can rely on it. So some people say, well, I don't know if I'm deficient. I'd like to take one with dinner to absorb it, because you need water for water soluble vitamins and you need fat for fat soluble vitamins. I'm just going to cover myself and take a multivitamin. And if people want to do that, Centrum Silver came up as a good one. But again, I'm not really an expert on the quality of these. Do you have an opinion?
Oh, I was
Chris?
just, didn't know if you were gonna, thought it was worth mentioning to look for that, little symbol to say if it was third party purity tested, if that has any weight.
Third-party purity tested. That's a good point. So you're taking the bias, the objectivity is better if someone else is testing it. Not not you and our supplement, we shouldn't test it. I mean, we should, but maybe
Yeah.
someone else has to,
Right.
has to verify. That's a good point.
Oh, we've got a new question in here. Thank you. Before we go, we have one doozy in here. Do either of you take brain supplements?
The answer for me is I do take a Centrum Silver, and I tried a creatine for my aches and pains, and it was a
Yeah.
placebo effect. But after it occurred to me, I must be honest,
Yeah.
I've seen the ads, but after our research, I'm going to wait until there's enough information, not just in effectiveness, but in safety.
And yeah, I'm the same. So outside of taking creatine, I haven't taken any other supplements that we've talked about in terms of helping brain health or trying to prevent Alzheimer's or all types of other dementias. So I haven't.
Then the one final comment we should make, as we say this all the time in the office, it's lifestyle choices. The journal Lancet has been monitoring risk factors for getting dementia. And the ones that are modifiable are that we should get a good education when we're younger, at least high school, and getting a PhD doesn't necessarily protect you more. In middle life, when we tend to get excessive weight, hypertension, hearing loss, we ought to address all those. Later in life, it's depression, social isolation, physical inactivity, diabetes, and air pollution. Air pollution was recently added. So if you live in Shanghai or LA, you might be at higher risk. So these are from observational studies saying that people that have less of these seem to get dementia less. Observational studies aren't necessarily gospel, but it is important for brain health to adhere to these things. So like hearing aids, we believe it's more than just hearing better. The brain really is preserved if we amplify hearing when we have hearing loss.
Yeah.
But that's the journal Lancet is called The Prevention of Dementia. You can Google it. It's a deceiving title. It's, in an effort to prevent dementia, you should look at these risk factors and get help for them from your doctor if you need it. Yep.
All right. Well, if there are no other questions, we will give you the rest of your evenings back. And
Thank you.
thank you very much to
Yeah.
William and to Dr. Chaconas.
Appreciate it.
There,
Thank you, Rick.
this was a meaty topic, and we appreciate your
Yeah.
Thank you
Your
so much. Thank you very much.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.